In a quiet village, there was a mysterious food seller named Adah. Every day, people from far and wide lined up in the market to buy her food. The aroma of her cooking filled the air, drawing villagers from their homes and traders from their stalls. Her food was unlike anything anyone had ever tasted, rich, flavorful, and satisfying. But no one knew where she got her ingredients or how she made her dishes so magical. Adah was a quiet woman with no family. She didn't speak much, and no one in the village knew where she lived. Every morning, she would appear at the market seemingly out of nowhere, with large pots filled with food. The moment she arrived, people would rush to form a line. Her dishes changed daily, sometimes a delicious stew, other times fragrant rice with perfectly grilled meat. Every meal she made was unforgettable, and no matter how many people came, there was always enough food. She was always the first to arrive at the market, even before the sun rose, and the last to leave when the sky grew dark. People would often wonder how someone who sold so much food could keep her business thriving day after day. Some believed she had a secret source of wealth, while others thought she possessed magical powers, but Adah never revealed her secrets. One day, a group of women in the market began to grow jealous of Adah's success. They had been selling food for years, yet they struggled to sell even a fraction of what Adah did. These women, led by Mama Uch, began to whisper among themselves. "How can she feed so many people from just those few pots of food?" Mama Uch asked. "It's not natural. There's something strange about her," one woman added. "I heard she doesn't live in the village. No one has ever seen her outside the market." Another woman leaned in closer. "Do you think she's using charms to make people love her food? Maybe she's not even human." The jealousy grew day by day. Some of the women tried to copy Adah's dishes, hoping to attract her customers, but they failed. No matter what they did, they could never match the taste of her food. Frustrated, they started spreading rumors. "Be careful with her food," Mama Uch warned some of the villagers. "Who knows where she gets her ingredients? What if she's using something evil to make her food taste that good?" Despite the rumors, many of the villagers ignored the gossip and continued to line up at Adah's stall. Her food was too good, and she had become too important to the village. Even the village chief sent his servants early to buy her meals, as no feast was complete without Adah's dishes. Mama Uch came home one evening, her face twisted with frustration. The market had been terrible for her that day, while Adah's stall was packed with customers. Mama Uch hadn't sold a single bowl of her stew. As she threw down her empty baskets, her mind raced with anger and jealousy. She stormed into the kitchen, determined to cook something good for her family. But just as she was about to start, she called out to her husband, who was sitting on the porch, resting after a long day. "Papa Uch, what do you want to eat tonight?" she asked, trying to keep her voice calm despite her mood. To her surprise, he waved his hand dismissively. "I'm not hungry, Mama Uch. I already ate. I ordered food from Adah's stall earlier, and now I'm full. I don't need anything for the rest of the night." Mama Uch froze, her heart pounding. Her husband had eaten from Adah's stall, the same Adah she had been fuming about all day. She clenched her fists, trying to keep her anger in check. "So you ate Adah's food?" she asked, her voice shaking. Papa Uch, completely unaware of his wife's fury, nodded. "Yes, it was delicious. You should have some next time. You won't believe how tender the meat was. I haven't tasted something that good in a long time." Mama Uch's eyes flared. First, it had been her children. They had come home from school complaining that her food didn't taste as good as Adah's. They wanted to buy from Adah every day, and now her husband was too. Everyone in her house was going to betray her for that woman. She stormed out of the kitchen and into her bedroom, her mind racing with thoughts of Adah. Mama Uch didn't sleep well that night, tossing and turning as anger bubbled inside her. By the time the sun rose the next morning, she had made up her mind. Something had to be done. At the market, Mama Uch was the first to arrive, as usual. She set up her stall and waited, but her eyes kept darting to where Adah usually set up. She didn't have to wait long before Adah appeared, carrying her large pots of food, like she always did, moving with a calmness that only made Mama Uch angrier. As soon as Adah finished setting up, the line started forming. Mama Uch watched in fury as her husband walked over to Adah's stall again. He greeted her with a smile and waited his turn in line. Mama Uch's blood boiled. She marched over to Adah, pushing through the crowd of customers. "Adah!" Mama Uch shouted. The market went quiet as everyone turned to see what was happening. Adah looked up from her food stall. "Yes?" Mama Uch walked closer. "You need to stop selling food to my family. My husband and my children should not be buying from you." Adah stayed calm. "I didn't make them buy from me. They came because they were hungry. I sell food to anyone who wants it." Mama Uch was very upset. "You're making my family love your food more than mine. They keep talking about how great your food is." "It's not fair," Adah replied quietly. "Mama Uch, I never said anything bad about your cooking. I am just doing my job. People come to my stall because they like my food, but I didn't take anyone away from you." The crowd started to whisper, watching as Mama Uch grew more angry. "You think you're better than the rest of us? You think you can come to this market and take all our customers? I wake up early and work hard just like everyone else." People buy my food because they enjoy it. I don't know what else you want from me. "I want you to stop selling to my family," Mama Uch yelled. "You've made my husband and children stop eating my food. They think yours is better. I won't allow it. I can't stop them from coming to my stall. You can't make people eat what they don't want." Mama Uch was so angry, but she didn't know what to say. She turned around and left, her heart filled with frustration. The market was still buzzing with whispers as everyone watched her walk away. That night, after the market had closed and everyone had gone home, Mama Uch stayed behind. She was filled with anger and refused to go home. Instead, she hid in the bushes near Adah's stall, waiting to see what would happen. Mama Uch glanced around, feeling the cool night air on her skin. She waited and waited, her heart pounding with frustration. Just as she thought about going home, she saw a figure in the distance. It was Adah, walking slowly with a basket in her hand, heading down a narrow path quietly. Mama Uch crept out of the bushes, careful not to make a sound. She followed Adah at a distance, making sure to stay hidden. Adah walked calmly, her footsteps soft on the dirt road as they moved away from the market. Mama Uch's mind raced with thoughts. What does Adah do when she goes home? She wondered. Why is her food so special? The moonlight guided their way, and Mama Uch kept her eyes on Adah, who seemed to be lost in her own world. Mama Uch's anger began to mix with curiosity. After walking for a while, Adah turned off the path into a small clearing. Mama Uch hesitated for a moment but decided to keep going. She wanted to know where Adah lived and what made her food so magical. In the clearing, Adah stopped by a small fire pit and set down her basket. She looked around, as if sensing something, but didn't see Mama Uch hiding nearby. She paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. The quiet of the night surrounded her, and she felt at peace. But as she prepared to settle down, she suddenly struck her hand on the ground. To Mama Uch's shock, a hidden trapdoor opened and a lifeless body emerged from beneath the earth. Mama Uch gasped, her heart racing as she took a step back, wanting to run away. But it was too late. Adah's eyes locked onto her, and with a swift gesture she whispered something under her breath. A strange force filled the air, and Mama Uch felt a tingling sensation wash over her. In an instant, she found herself unable to hear anything. The world became silent. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Adah stood there, her expression calm but firm. "You should have stayed away, Mama Uch," she said, though Mama Uch could no longer hear her voice. Panic surged through Mama Uch as she realized she had been made deaf and dumb. Stumbling back in shock, Mama Uch tried to escape, but Adah held her gaze, a knowing look in her eyes. "Now, you will understand what it means to be alone," Adah said softly, though Mama Uch could not hear her. In that moment, Mama Uch felt a wave of fear wash over her. She wanted to run, to shout for help, but her body wouldn't obey her. The body that had emerged from the ground seemed to echo the very fears she had harbored. The fear of losing her family, the fear of not being good enough, and the fear of Adah's power. Adah, seeing the panic in Mama Uch's eyes, turned back to the body. She whispered softly, "You will not disrupt my work. You wanted to take away my customers, but now you will learn the truth of what I protect." Mama Uch watched helplessly as Adah returned to her preparations, the flickering firelight casting shadows around her. She could see Adah cooking as if nothing had happened, but now the atmosphere felt heavy and dark. Every moment felt like an eternity for Mama Uch as she struggled to understand what was happening. The silence was suffocating, and her mind raced with thoughts. She felt trapped, unable to communicate or escape, as Adah stirred her pot of dead body. The aroma of spices filled the air again, but this time it felt different, thicker, almost ominous. Mama Uch's heart sank as she realized she had entered a world of secrets far beyond her understanding. Desperate to escape, she turned to leave the clearing, but the power of Adah's magic held her in place. It felt as if the ground beneath her was rooting her to the spot. "Now you will see the truth, Mama Uch," Adah continued, her voice steady, though Mama Uch could not hear. "The food I prepare is not just for nourishment. It carries the essence of those who once were, and you will learn to respect that." Adah stirred the pot, the aroma wafting through the air, tantalizing yet terrifying. She ladled a bowl of the thick, dark soup and turned to Mama Uch with a knowing smile. "You will eat this," she commanded, her eyes gleaming with a strange power. Mama Uch shook her head vigorously, her heart pounding. She thought desperately, feeling sick at the thought of consuming something made from the dead body. But Adah's gaze was unyielding. It was as if her eyes held a magic of their own, compelling Mama Uch to obey. "Don't refuse me, or I will make sure you regret it," Adah warned, her voice calm yet chilling. Mama Uch felt a shiver run down her spine. The fear of Adah's threat gripped her, and before she knew it, she found herself bringing the bowl closer to her lips with trembling hands. She took a spoonful of the soup, The taste was overpowering, a mix of spices and something she couldn't quite identify. Her stomach churned, and she fought the urge to vomit. But Adah's piercing gaze bore into her. "Don't you dare! If you do, I will kill you," she said silently, her eyes flashing with intensity. With tears welling up in her eyes, Mama Uch swallowed hard, forcing the repulsive soup down her throat. Each gulp felt like a betrayal, and she wanted nothing more than to spit it out. But the fear of Adah's wrath kept her from doing so. Instead, she kept her gaze fixed on the ground, ashamed and terrified. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she finished the bowl. Adah watched her with a satisfied expression. "Good. Now you know what I can do. You are free to go. But remember this moment," she said, her tone dripping with finality. With that, Mama Uch stumbled away from the hut, her mind racing with confusion and despair. She felt a weight in her stomach, heavy with fear and disgust. The world around her seemed surreal, the shadows dancing eerily as she made her way home. When she reached her house, the door creaked open, revealing her husband, who looked worried. "Mama Uch, where have you been?" "I was so worried," he exclaimed, his relief quickly fading into concern as he noticed her pale face and trembling body. "Are you okay? You look sick." He stepped closer, but as he spoke, he realized something was terribly wrong. Mama Uch stood before him, her mouth moving, but no sound came out. She reached for him, desperate to explain, to tell him what had happened. But all she could do was shake her head and cry. The tears streamed down her cheeks as she realized she could no longer communicate with him. Her husband's eyes widened in confusion and fear. "Mama Uch, please. What's wrong?" he pleaded, reaching out to comfort her. But all she could do was weep. The weight of her situation crushed her spirit. She pointed to her throat, trying to convey that she couldn't speak, but the words wouldn't come. She felt isolated, trapped in a nightmare of her own making, haunted by the experience with Adah that night. Mama Uch lay in bed, her husband beside her, unable to find comfort in his presence. She cried silently, the tears soaking her pillow as her heart ached. She thought of Adah's soup and the body that had emerged from the ground. The knowledge of the magic that had taken away her voice felt like a dark shadow looming over her life. Her husband, feeling helpless, held her tightly, whispering words of comfort that she could not hear. He wished he could understand her pain, but Mama Uch felt alone, lost in her thoughts, consumed by fear and regret. The following day, Papa Uch decided to go to the market to buy food from Adah. He woke up early, thinking of all the tasty meals he could prepare for Mama Uch. At the market, the delicious smell of Adah's soup filled the air, making his stomach rumble. He approached her stall, eager to buy some food. After buying a bowl of soup, Papa Uch brought it home for Mama Uch, hoping it would make her feel better. When he entered the house, he called out to her, "I brought you some soup, my dear." But as he placed the bowl in front of her, Mama Uch shook her head vigorously, tears streaming down her cheeks. She wanted to warn him not to eat it, but she couldn't find the words. All she could do was watch as he lifted the spoon to his lips, her heart heavy with fear. Papa Uch took a sip of the soup, savoring the rich flavor. Mama Uch's heart sank as she thought of the dark magic that had taken her voice. She felt helpless, knowing that she couldn't stop him. With each bite he took, she cried silently, feeling a mixture of sadness and despair. She wanted to shout, to stop him from eating Adah's food, but she was trapped in her own silence. Meanwhile, in the market, a woman named Ngoy had gathered some friends to gossip about Mama Uch. "Have you seen Mama Uch?" she asked, her voice low. "She seems so different. It's like she can't hear or speak anymore." The other women nodded, their eyes wide with concern. They had noticed the change in her ever since the day she confronted Adah. "I think something happened after she spoke to Adah," one whispered, fear creeping into her voice. "We should be careful. I think Adah has strange powers." Mama Uch couldn't bear the pain any longer. Ever since Adah had forced her to eat that dreadful soup, her life had turned into a living nightmare. She couldn't speak, couldn't explain the horror she had witnessed. And now she felt trapped in silence. One evening, as despair overtook her, Mama Uch found a bottle of poison hidden away. With shaken hands and tears streaming down her face, she drank it, unable to face another day of torment. When Papa Uch found her lifeless body, he let out a wail so loud that the entire village came running. The villagers were shocked, but none more so than her closest friend, Ngoy. As people gathered to mourn, whispering about how Mama Uch had lost her voice and died in mysterious circumstances, Ngoy knew deep down that Adah had something to do with her death. But she needed proof. Days passed, and the village slowly returned to normal. But Ngoy could not rest. Every time she passed by Adah's stall in the market, selling her soups with a smile, Ngoy felt a wave of anger and disgust wash over her. She needed to uncover the truth. Determined, she decided to visit a native doctor in a neighboring area. She told him everything about Mama Uch's sudden loss of voice before her death and how she had confronted Adah before everything happened. The native doctor listened carefully, his face growing more serious with each word. "Adah is not an ordinary woman," the native doctor warned. "She is powerful, and her secrets are dark. You cannot confront her directly, but I will give you something for protection." He handed Ngoy a small charm wrapped in a piece of cloth. "This will shield you from her powers. Follow her carefully, and you may discover what she's hiding. But be warned, if she catches you, your life will be in great danger." Ngoy nodded, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. She knew this was her only chance to expose Adah for what she truly was. That night, Ngoy waited in the bushes outside the market, keeping her eyes on Adah's stall. As usual, Adah was the last to leave, packing up her things as the rest of the market women headed home. Ngoy followed her from a distance, careful to stay out of sight. Adah walked down a narrow path that led to a secluded area behind her house. Ngoy crouched low, her heart racing as she watched Adah kneel down and tap the ground 3 times. To Ngoy's horror, the earth beneath